Imagine this for a moment. You finally get the salary you've been chasing for years. Maybe it's the promotion. Maybe it's the new job offer. Maybe it's the number you once promised yourself would fix everything. For the first time, the paycheck looks serious. You breathe a little easier when rent is due. You can afford nicer things now. A better apartment. Better clothes. Maybe a better car. And for a while, it feels like life is finally working the way it's supposed to. But then something strange begins to happen. A few months pass. Maybe a year. And one day you check your account and quietly ask yourself a question you never expected to ask at this income level. Where did all the money go? You're earning more than you ever have, but somehow it doesn't feel like you're getting ahead. The stress is still there. The margin still feels thin. And the wealth you thought would naturally appear from a bigger salary never really shows up. Think back for a moment. Do you remember the first time you ever got a big pay raise or salary jump? Maybe it was your first serious job. Maybe it was a promotion. Maybe it was the moment you crossed a number you once thought would solve everything. How did you feel when you saw that paycheck? Relieved? Excited? Like life was finally about to get easier? I would actually love to know. If you remember that moment, tell me in the comments what your first big pay raise felt like. Because almost everyone remembers that feeling. And interestingly, that moment is often where the story we're about to talk about begins. Because there's a financial trap that quietly captures millions of high earners. And the strange part is this. The problem usually isn't that people earn too little. It's that as their salary goes up, their lifestyle rises with it. So the extra money they worked for quietly disappears into a more expensive life. That's the salary trap. Most people grow up believing a very simple story about money. Work hard, get a good job, earn a higher salary, and eventually wealth will follow. It's a story that sounds logical. After all, if you earn more money, you should have more money, right? But real life doesn't seem to follow that script. There are people earning modest incomes who slowly build real financial security. And there are people earning six figures who still feel like they're constantly trying to catch up. Not because they're irresponsible, not because they're bad with money, but because they stepped into something few people ever talk about. The salary trap. And the reason this trap is so powerful is because it doesn't feel like a trap at first. In fact, it feels like success. A higher salary brings new opportunities, new expectations, and a quiet shift in how you see your life. You start upgrading things. Not dramatically at first. Just a little here and there. A nicer place to live. A car that matches your income level. Better restaurants. More convenience. After all, you worked hard for this. You deserve to enjoy it. And that logic makes perfect sense. The problem is that every small upgrade carries something hidden behind it. A permanent cost. And those permanent costs slowly reshape your financial life. Let's slow down for a moment and look at how this actually happens. Imagine someone earning $45,000 a year. They live relatively simply. Their rent is modest. Their lifestyle is manageable. They don't feel wealthy, but they're surviving. Then one day they get a new job paying $85,000. For a brief moment, something incredible happens. Their income jumps dramatically, but their lifestyle hasn't caught up yet. And during that window, they actually feel rich. Suddenly there's extra money in their account. The problem is that this moment doesn't usually last very long. Because human psychology hates imbalance. When your income rises, your brain begins quietly adjusting your expectations of what life should look like. You start thinking differently about what is normal. The old apartment feels a little cramped now. The old car feels a little outdated. The cheaper grocery store feels a little inconvenient. Nothing feels extravagant. It just feels like leveling up. And this is where something subtle but powerful happens. Your fixed expenses begin to grow. The nicer apartment adds $700 more to your monthly cost. The car upgrade adds another $500. Subscriptions, dining out, convenience spending, travel. Each decision feels reasonable on its own. But together, they quietly rebuild your entire financial structure. And suddenly your new income isn't creating freedom anymore. It's just supporting a more expensive life. This phenomenon is sometimes called lifestyle inflation. But that phrase almost makes it sound like a budgeting mistake, when in reality, it's something deeper than that. It's identity. As your income rises, you slowly begin to see yourself differently. And once your identity shifts, your spending tends to follow. You don't want to live like the old version of yourself anymore. You want your environment to reflect your progress. Your home, your clothes, your habits, your social circles. And none of these things are inherently wrong. But they create a quiet mathematical problem. Because income is temporary. Expenses are permanent. If you lose a job, take a break, start a business, or face an emergency, your lifestyle doesn't automatically shrink overnight. And this is why some of the most financially stressed people in society aren't low earners. They're high earners with very high fixed costs. From the outside, everything looks successful. But internally, the margin is thin. And margin is what actually creates financial peace. Not income. Margin. The gap between what you earn and what your life requires. Without margin, even a large salary can feel fragile. There's another psychological force quietly reinforcing this trap. Social comparison. Humans are deeply influenced by the environment around them. If you earn $60,000 but everyone around you earns $40,000, you feel relatively successful. But if you earn $120,000 and everyone around you earns $200,000, you may still feel like you're falling behind. Income doesn't exist in isolation. It exists inside social environments, workplaces, friend groups, cities, industries, and those environments constantly reset what feels normal. You start seeing colleagues upgrading homes, taking luxury vacations, driving nicer cars, posting moments of success online. And even if you don't consciously try to compete, your brain absorbs those signals. And slowly, your expectations rise again. This is why some of the highest earning professionals in major cities often feel surprisingly stuck financially. Because their financial life isn't anchored to their income. It's anchored to their environment. And environments can expand faster than incomes. So, if a bigger salary isn't enough, what actually changes things? The turning point usually happens when someone realizes a quiet truth about money. Income creates opportunity, but ownership creates wealth. A salary is money you earn by giving your time. Ownership is money that continues existing whether you show up or not. Assets, investments, equity, systems, things that grow quietly in the background. Most high earners accidentally delay this shift. Not because they don't understand investing, but because their lifestyle absorbs the majority of their income before it can become ownership. The salary trap isn't really about earning too little. It's about converting too little of what you earn into assets. And once someone sees that clearly, their decisions begin to change. They stop asking one question. How much can I afford? And they start asking a different one. How much of this income is actually becoming future freedom? Because wealth is rarely built from dramatic financial moves. It's built from consistent conversion, turning income into assets. Month after month, year after year, quietly. Maybe you're realizing you're inside this trap right now. And if that's the case, the way out probably isn't some dramatic financial overhaul. It's actually much quieter than that. It starts with something simple that most people never consciously protect. Margin. The space between what you earn and what your life requires from you every month. When your income goes up, the natural instinct is to upgrade life right alongside it. A slightly nicer apartment, a slightly better car, more convenience, better experiences. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with enjoying your progress. But here's the quiet shift that changes everything. Instead of letting every raise reshape your lifestyle, you quietly redirect part of that increase somewhere your future self will thank you for. Investments, assets, ownership. Not because you're trying to live like a minimalist monk, and not because you're denying yourself a good life, but because you're slowly building a life that won't always depend on your next paycheck. And that changes how money feels. There's another realization that often comes right after that. Your fixed costs control more of your life than your income does. Every permanent expense you add becomes a commitment your future self has to carry. The bigger those commitments become, the harder it becomes to make changes later. To switch careers. To take a risk. To move cities. To start something meaningful. To breathe a little. A life with smaller fixed costs often feels lighter, more flexible, more open. You don't wake up every morning feeling like your entire life depends on maintaining the same level of income forever. And then eventually, another shift happens. One that changes how you see money entirely. You stop seeing your salary as proof of success, and you start seeing it as fuel. Just a tool. Something that passes through your hands and quietly becomes pieces of ownership. Investments. Assets. Things that continue growing, whether you're working that day or not. Because the moment income stops being your identity, the salary trap starts losing its grip, and the whole game begins to look very different. If you look closely, you'll notice something interesting about people who eventually build real financial peace. They're not always the highest earners in the room. Often, they're simply the ones who resisted letting their lifestyle grow as fast as their income. They kept a little space, a little margin, a little patience. And over time, that patience quietly compounds. Their investments grow. Their options expand. Their stress slowly fades. Not because they chased money harder, but because they built a life that didn't require as much of it to survive. And maybe that's the real goal. Not just earning more, but needing less from each paycheck. Because when your life stops depending entirely on your next salary, something subtle but powerful happens. Money stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like possibility. And that shift is where real financial freedom quietly begins. And if this video made you think about money a little differently, do me a small favor. Hit the like button so more people who feel stuck in this exact situation can find it too. And if you enjoy calm, psychology-driven conversations about money like this, subscribe to the channel. Most of the videos here explore the deeper side of money, the psychology, the hidden traps, and the quiet habits that actually build long-term freedom. And if this topic resonated with you, you'll probably really enjoy the next video on your screen. It dives into another money misconception that keeps a lot of smart people financially stuck. I'll see you there.